Hi again. Today we're going to do something different. It's in the afternoon now. Instead of making the fourth yoga video in the series that we started making, basic yoga practice, we're going to do my daily routine, which is intermediate advanced level. So I will not talk much because this video, this routine is aiming at people who are already experienced in practicing yoga. That means you are familiar with almost all of the exercises that you will see. So it's a matter of simply following the video. I will keep silent most of the time. Then tomorrow, if you're waiting for the next video to come out in the basic series, we'll do that tomorrow morning. This morning I was very busy with the dogs. The natural yogi is lying beside me here. So instead of in the morning, we will do something in the afternoon, but it's going to be my own daily routine. You'll see there's no standing poses. Advanced poses, almost all are floor exercises. Basic poses, majority of the basic poses are standing poses. But you will see, it's a nice mix that I built up intuitively. There's no rules to how you do that. That's also what I plan to do after the basic series. We will show you daily practice that is based on intuition. And in that, what is important, once you are familiar with the poses, in the beginning that familiarity with poses is important. Once you're familiar with the poses, you are going to be able to devise your own daily yoga practice, not based on a strict schedule, but based on what you feel intuitively. And there's just one or two important guidelines that you use. That is, that you try to cover all the parts of your body, from the toes, the tips of the toes up to the top of the head. Left, right, front and back, all the way from the bottom to the top. So we'll come back to that later. That's it. I'll stop talking and start doing. Enjoy your practice. Always start with the spinal twist. Spinal twist stimulates all the nerves that go through the spine. You can consider this a yoga warming up. Okay, I usually stay a little bit longer, up to a minute, but I don't want to make the video too long. The spinal twist not only makes the spine more flexible, but it also makes the hips more flexible. If you're already pretty flexible, you can deepen that stretch by doing it with one leg. And I'm bringing my right leg over, bent, the other stays straight, and I push the knee down with my hand, increasing the intensity of the torsion. This I usually maintain 30 seconds up to a minute also. Notice that I always take a rest in between. The feeling that engulfs you during that short rest, that is just, you don't want to miss that. That is so awesome. Actually, it's the whole point of doing the exercises. But we will explain the energy related issues later on in detail. So if the back and the hips feel comfortable, push a little bit, deliberately. Okay, this is followed my rather specialized stretch that gives a very deep stretch in the hips. Both legs bend, one flips over the other and becomes a lever. You push down, stretch up, and you get a very deep stretch in the hip and the coccyx. Very helpful if you have lower back issues, lower back pain, discomfort in the lower back. And the last one. That's it. Okay. In the basic series, you have a standing forward bend, Padangusthasana. There is a seated version, which is more difficult because the force of gravity doesn't help you here that much. So the standing version is considered to be basic. The seated version is considered to be intermediate. You sit straight, inhale deep, and you reach for the big toes like you do in the standing pose. And again, the emphasis is on the tilt of the pelvis, and you try to elongate the spine. Tuck in the chin, breathe deep and calm, maintain the pose, consolidate. Try to visualize pushing the heels forward and the hips back. If you do this correctly, it's very intense stretch. Okay, slowly come back. let it settle down for a moment. Simply lying down. We have a cobra pose. Bhujangasana. Raise the upper body first without support, as high as you can. Then you put the hands on the ground and push. Fully extend arms. Do not try to keep the hips on the ground. Fully extend. Then relax the legs and the buttocks. Slowly, slowly come back for a moment. Take a deep breath. Then we have 4 variations of the shoulder stand. The first one is familiar from the basic series. Second variation is rather advanced. Building a bridge, in Sanskrit, Siddha Bandha Sarvangasana. After lowering the feet behind your back, you then fully extend the legs, firmly supporting the back. It has a variation, Ekapada Siddha Bandha Sarvangasana. One leg. About 30 seconds each side, and then you consolidate in the basic pose. From here we transition into Halasana, also familiar from the basic series, but you go through the basic shoulder stand, which means you first erect, and then you go to Halasana. followed by Karnapidasana. Pressure on the ears. The literal meaning of Karnapida. And when we come back, we do that again through the shoulder stand, erect, and then slowly and controlled. You come back as slowly and controlled as possible. And then you relax. The bow pose, Dhanurasana. You grab the ankles, you flex the feet, don't point the toes, flex the feet, knees together, and engage intensely. Don't hold the breath. Slowly come back. Relax for a moment. You can see Pada is very relaxed, not scared anymore. He was in the beginning. Babi is still, after 8 months being with us, still if I move then she's very alert. And for the rest, they're perfectly fine. They never interfere in my practice. Janu Shirshasana. The forward bend, one leg. One leg straight, you pull the other one back about 120 degrees. Inhale deep, exhale. Now, don't do like most people do, bending sideways. You make it as symmetric as possible by turning towards your foot and bending this way. Slowly come back. Usually stay a little bit longer in the poses, but I don't, like I said before, I don't want to make the video too long. pigeon pose. Kapotasana. Kapot in Dutch means broken. Of course, this is not Dutch, it's Sanskrit. Kapotasana. Sleeping pigeon. Come back. Incredible hip opener this. Very nice exercise. It's important that you keep the hips in the center, don't end up sitting like this. Kurmasana, the tortoise. This is a very extreme forward bend, so only if you are very flexible in forward bending should you do this, otherwise you have serious risk of hurting your lower back. Then we have a couple of intense upper body poses. Salapasana is a locust or a grasshopper. followed by Mayurasana, the peacock. Peacock, when excited, raises the tail. So there's a variation. Upward bow pose, Uttanurasana. Following is a variation of that pose. Standing on the knees. You put your hands under the heels. Then you actively push the hips forward. What is important is that you don't drop your head, because that damages the neck in the long term, and that you don't lean on your hands. Your hands function as clamps to prevent you from falling over when you actively push the hips forward. When you actively push the hips forward, that causes a considerable compression in the lower back. You decompress in the child pose. Virasana, hero pose. You sit in between the ankles. Tilt the pelvis, hollow back, hands on the knees. When you become comfortable in this pose, you can increase the intensity with the sleeping hero, Supta Vira. Again, the lower back is compressed, so we decompress in the child pose. And then we finish with 2 extreme hip openers. Upavista Kona. Spread the feet as wide as possible. In the first instance, you sit straight, tilt the pelvis, back straight, tucking the chin. When you're comfortable in the pose, you can do it by bending forward. And the last extreme hip opener, Pada Konasana. Pada means restraint, Kona means angle. You join the foot soles, pull the heels back into the groin as far as possible, and then you tilt the pelvis and sit straight. And if possible, you pull the knees down. Engage the muscles, pull the knees down. Then you guessed it, if you're comfortable in the pose, you bend forward. slowly come back and you finish in Savasana. Just lie down on the back and relax the whole body. Not too long, just a minute. If you stay too long, you become lazy and you destroy the wonderful effect that you have created with your practice. Condition we call tamas. All my students know what that means. Okay, now we clasp the fingers, stretch yourselves out, and come back. So, absolutely marvelous, addictive. You may wonder why we didn't use the rubber mat that we are using in the basic series. Yoga mats, as we know them today, are an invention since the commercialization and popularization of yoga. My yoga training started long before that, 1984, and we used to practice on a woolen blanket. Woolen blanket, cotton blanket, and only if you would do exercises, standing exercises, where there is the danger of your feet slipping away, the rubber mats would come out of the closet. And as soon as those poses were finished, the rubber mats would be rolled up and go back into the closet again. The plastic mats that we know these days, mats made from artificial materials, didn't exist at that time. We had mats out of real rubber, and they were very cheap, just basic cost price of the rubber material. And these days, plastic mats that are in fact very cheap, with a label of yoga on them, you can make a lot of profit. Well, that's another story. As you may have discovered, I'm living in Korea and I'm sleeping on the floor. Since I came here 23 years ago, I sleep on a mattress. I've never had a bed in Korea, and it's the perfect mat for floor exercises. So this is where I do my daily routine, accompanied by my lovely doggies. It's a little bit boring. There are many videos on YouTube with dog yoga, people who practice yoga and dogs interfering and leading to all kinds of hilarious clips. My dogs, they don't feel like interfering, they don't feel like, well, they're very good actually at yoga. They are very high level in Savasana, the corpse pose, so they don't need anything else. Very meditative also. Please, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below the video. Do not hesitate. I'm at my best when people ask anything about yoga. Tomorrow we will come with the fourth video in the series of the basic yoga practice. Have a lovely day and see you next time.